How good is Harbor Master? If you're one of the dozen people who ever wondered how to use this LOTR ally, then you've come to the right place. Roll the intro. Oops, sorry, just talked to my manager, we don't have a dubstep intro yet, it might take a few weeks or months or years to develop. You will have to do with my talking. Anyway, welcome to Zura's workshop, and if you're interested in how the series works and haven't watched my previous video, I highly encourage you to take a look at it first, but back to the Harbor Master. First, let's read the card real quick so we can stand on equal grounds or when it comes to our general knowledge of it. So what's this guy's deal? He reads: 3 cost, 1 willpower, 2 attack, 0 defense, 2 hit points. He's a lore ally, Harbor Master, LOTR trait, and he has a response after a card effect adds any number of resources to the resource pool of a hero you control. Harbor Master gains +1 defense until the end of the round. So, what's this guy's deal? As we have done in the previous video, I will just display the themes that are related to this card first, and we'll talk about them a little bit before we move on to some more direct synergies and deck building. So, first off, and maybe most importantly, he's a LOTR ally. It means that 2C works with him, that you can attach cards like Elven Mail to him, Lords of Eldar will buff him, etc. And LOTR is a pretty developed trait, it's probably in the top 5. So even if you're not running a full-on dedicated LOTR deck, there are always some cards in the card pool that you can get some synergies out of. And frankly, when it comes to this trait, this guy doesn't fit the LOTR bill whatsoever. Most LOTRs have a lot of interaction with card discarding, utilizing your discard pile, but his ability has nothing to do with it. He's one of the few oddballs. Every trait has them. So they have the trait of, well, the trait that they have, I know it sounds kind of stupid, but that's what it is. But they don't really have a place in the game plan that this trait represents, so they are kind of a challenge in themselves to use properly. The second theme you can notice in this card that he's a defender. Cause really, if you try to make him an attacker, I really encourage you to go home and rethink your life. Unless you're already home, as I am, and then I don't know what to tell you. And if you see a defender and you see the green background in the card, it means he has the access to the best defensive attachment of all time in the game, Burning Brand. I know that Burning Brand got hit by the Shadow Errata. Basically, it got reprinted with a different text, making it once around and restricted, but it's your call whether you use the Shadow Errata because it's nowhere in the official documents to be seen. But even with the errata, when it comes to this ally, Burning Brand is great, and if you get him to some ridiculous levels, Burning Brand will keep this ally safe. The third thing I wanted to talk about, which isn't really a theme which is consistent in this game, it's like one of the only cards that have it, is that he's dependent on constant resource generation. If you use burst generation mostly, like Legacy of Numenor, it probably won't get you far with it, as amount of resources does not matter with him. You need to just generate a lot of instances of resources to make him good. So it doesn't matter that you have a card that gives you 2 resources around, it could give you 1 resource and his defense will still go up by 1. So you need a lot of different cards that generates any amounts of resources. 1 is fine. And it takes 4 resources around to make him a better defender of Ramas, and it takes about 6 to make him an actual good defender against current quests and to make him a centerpiece of your board. And it's not really easy to do, especially as cards that just add resources to the pool when gathering resources at the beginning of the round, like Resourceful, do not work with him. So you need to be adding resources as an action or anything, but when it comes to just gathering resources as the part of the resource phase, won't work with him. And last but not least, he's one of the only allies in the game with an ability that boosts defense based on a condition, but it's not limited on it. Most allies that have like stat boosts based on conditions have some limits, but he doesn't. So it means he can go as crazy as he wants or as you want him to. He's kinda similar to builds based around Guardian of Arnor. And he really doesn't seem to have any deal in our decks at the first glance. He's kind of expensive for his just measly 2 points of attack, and to get some legit defense out of him, it seems like you need to run a lot of cards just dedicated to boost this guy, and frankly, there aren't that many options for constant resource generation. So even now the game is pretty old and the card pool is insane, and it doesn't really get much better from here. We have only 9 non-hero player cards that can generate a resource every single round. Maybe I've missed 1 or 2, but I'm pretty sure there's just 9. And this leads us into territory we need to step into if we want him to become a solid ally. We need heroes that generate resources. And we need heroes that generate resources every single round if we want to get value out of him. So we have those 4. We have Fieldred, we have Mablung, Arwen, and B4. They are all pretty different, but what matters is that every single one of them basically gives Harbor Master +1 attack every single round. If you for some reason run all 3 of those, then Harbor Master could as well have 3 base defense, and then you build from here. But I won't get too ahead from ourselves, because I don't want to get into the deck yet, as we still need to talk about the synergies, because that's part of the video, and I've chosen 2 synergies as the last time. First off, we have Guardian of Arnor. He was already mentioned, but he was inevitable. He's a centerpiece to Dendain archetype, and he's a defensive card that actually fits into some archetype strategy, unlike this guy, who clearly does his own thing. A key difference between Guardian and him is that when it comes to Guardian, he's just part of your Dendain board, defending from a horde of enemies, while our Harbor Master can just wait for his only boss enemy to be blocked. But our Dendain is 100% more universal, and he's way better suited if you want a free cost ally defender to join your ranks, as he interacts with the encounter deck and not with your own silly synergy. And next, we have Blood of Numenor. It feels weird comparing a 0 cost defensive attachment that's been a staple since it's been released to this fringe ally. But if you read this attachment, those cards have a pretty similar application. They make use of resource generation and they transform it into defense. Differences being, first off, Blood of Numenor doesn't care about the instances of generation, it just cares about the amount of money you have. Blood of Numenor wants all the resources to be on the single hero, while Harbor Master doesn't care. Blood of Numenor spends the resources, and Harbor Master just needs them to be generated, he doesn't spend them. And finally, the most important difference being, and this difference just sets Blood of Numenor as the superior card, your stacked resources move on to the next turn, allowing you to set up your defender over the rounds, while Harbor Master just needs constant attention and constant boosting, while when it comes to Blood of Numenor, you can just gather your resources and then you are set when it comes to defense. And Harbor Master goes back to 0 at the end of the round, so if you want a resource-based defensive strategy, Blood of Numenor is more reliable. But if for some reason you don't have a Gondor Dunedain hero, or you don't have a slot for hero defender, or maybe you just want to use Harbor Master's Noldor affiliation, this might be the reason to go with Harbor Master. But otherwise, I repeat, Blood of Numenor is better. So now, onto the synergies. This time it's weird because all of the resource generation cards have synergy with this guy, so here on the screen I will just display all of the most important ones on when it comes to how they work with him. Not really gonna talk about it because they just get you money, they get you the defense. That's all you need in the deck. And now that we covered the cards that are similar to the card and the cards that are synergizing with the card, let's take a look at the player deck I've constructed. Actually, before I get to my deck, I wanted to shout out this deck list by some sort. There will be a link in the description. It actually uses a combo that gives Harbor Master infinite defense. It's restricted to Dale deck, but it looks very solid. That said, we'll be trying some other combination of heroes, but I couldn't really omit the existence of this deck in this video. Here it is, the deck. What we've built is kind of a blend of some archetypes that can give us that sweet money. I wanted at least 2 heroes that generate resources every round, so R1 and B4 that is, and then I went with Gandalf because he has his stuff and only he can use it, that gives us resources every round, so once we get it he also becomes a resource generating hero. Gandalf interacts well with mining, you can see the top card of your deck, some Noldor cards like being in the discard. B4 is a dwarf, you can see where it's going. What we basically have here is some weird kind of mining with Gandalf and Arwen and Elven Light, but it's still kind of a mining deck. But I really wanted to not only collect resources just to fuel Harbor Master, I wanted some other reason to collect resources. So I went with Gondorian Fire on Gandalf build because we have Steward, so you can use it. Gondorian Fire is one of the best ways to go for excess resources in my opinion, but if you build a deck that just generates a lot of money, you really need to make way to use this money, otherwise you kind of trapped yourself. And we have very good starting questing and other questers in the ally lineup, so Harbor Masters and Gandalf should cover combat okay, but we'll see how it does. So, what I decided to highlight were the final 2 rounds of the game of Celebrimbor's Secret. We got into the late game pretty unscathed, we have a lot of resources, we've built up the board. Early game we were clearing out locations and some mid-range enemies. Now we have 2 Harbor Masters on the board, both gaining some ridiculous amounts of defense. There is a lot of enemies in the staging area, but we've managed to lower our threat to the point that they don't engage us until they do, but we'll see if they actually do engage us. This is the final stage where we just need to do the progress, then engage Balach and kill the guy. As you can see, we actually managed to create a board state when 10 defense on a Harbor Master is not so far off, but actually after 8 it's pretty much infinite. There are probably 5 to 10 enemies that can actually go through 8 defense. What matters more is to have Burning Brand so you can cancel some shadows that could actually affect you in the situation. So we made 12 progress, now we engage Balach, but we can't kill him this round, sadly. Even with Gondorian Fire we didn't have enough resources on Gandalf. Maybe if I played some earlier rounds a little bit different, I could have killed him this round, but I will get punished for that, as you will be able to see. Those 4 orcs in the staging are not going to stay here, I just needed to spoil that. So I'm just chilling here, buffing all 3 of my Harbor Masters because I've got all 3 of them out. Gandalf really helps with getting through the deck a lot faster. Many people underestimate him, think he's 2 cards around, but really with the knowledge of what's on top, you can get through 4 or 5 more cards every round if you play your cards right. So we quest with a lot of characters. I think I didn't trigger Furiel. Oh, no, I did. I actually did. and I discarded the orc, but he would have been a lot better than what I just discarded, yeah. So all of the orcs got extra shadow card, and they will all engage me. So yeah, it was a pretty scary moment for me. Uh, like we have 3 Harbor Masters, but we have 5 attacks to deal with, and double shadow effects can kill pretty much any deck. But here we managed to survive, but one of our heroes will be dying. I think I sacrificed Arwen, but it didn't really matter if Arwen on B4 went away. All that mattered was that Gandalf had enough resources to trigger Gondorian Fire and attack for some ridiculous amounts because he has double Gondorian Fire, so he will see. He attacks for 22 alone. He just destroys Belach. He's done. And now let's move on to the verdict. Harbor Master is not terrible. The existence of a deck that uses an infinite combo with him shows as much, and even in a deck that doesn't go infinite, he can defend really huge threats in a correct deck. Sadly, I wouldn't go as far and call him great or even very good either. He has problems, for example, he doesn't really fit into his original archetype, and he needs a lot of work outside of it. He relies on you getting all the right pieces, and if you want to be gathering pieces, you might as well figure out some more foolproof strategies such as very popular Voltron Hero Defender. He hardly has a place, but he is unique enough that you can create this place yourself. If you're willing to do that, then you can get him out of your binder. He gets a 2+. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. I'm trying to improve my videos, and if you liked it, please let me know what you liked and what you would want to see changed. It's very exciting to be doing Lord of the Rings content myself, even if it's very time consuming. And see you guys in the next one.